Hi, welcome back to the podcast School of Love, where we want to help parents to create parent child relationships where you can talk about anything, especially sex. Today, I invited Andranik to talk with me about which challenge do youth struggle with most. And first, I thought we would have a big mix of challenges to discuss, but in the end, we found an underlying challenge, which is the lack of connection or belonging. And this also comes from lack of really feeling loved through our parents, absolutely loved by our parents, which is essentially God's love. And this lack of feeling that love, perhaps we've experienced it ourselves growing up through our own parents. We either had a great experience with our parents and felt that love at some point or many times, or there was a lack of it and we painfully felt that. And either way, if you're a parent now, you have the chance to reach out to your kids and give that absolute love. And it may take different shapes or forms in how you express it, but it is such an important thing to give. And that is where that connection can be started, that belonging. And that is an essential part of having these conversations, any kind of deep conversation, but especially ones that have anything to do with sexuality. So, yeah, I hope you enjoy this conversation. I know it's a little bit longer than usual, but please listen till the end because we also talk about what you can do if before these challenges hit and also afterwards, even if you're in the midst of a humongous whirlwind of challenges, there is something you can do, super simple, but it's still doable. So I hope you enjoy this episode and see you on the other side. So, welcome back to the podcast School of Love. Today I'm here with Andranik. Andranik is the High Noon chapter leader for Europe. And yeah, Andranik, what does a High Noon chapter leader do in Europe?
Right. Uh, yeah, at the moment, my main priority is in-person events. So we
Mhm.
travel around with my team to communities, to countries, and we do workshops. That's our main focus. We're trying to bring High Noon to as many places in Europe as we can. Bring High Noon close. Share with people that spirit and that atmosphere that High Noon, can create and inspire people uh, to join us to continue, our paths together. We then, continue on working with people on online programs, and we don't really do our own online programs in Europe, like as a Europe chapter. We join the international
Okay.
stream of programs, but yeah, I'm facilitating there, and all of my team also. Everyone's facilitating, so we continue the conversation and the journey there with people that decide to join. Yeah, so basically, I guess it's a lot of talking with people, a lot of yeah, planning back and forth, planning out our roadmap of which country we visit next, and plus some additional mini projects that we're working on here. More specifically, for example, now I'm working on translating our 40-day challenge, which is our program that's like a self-paced program into the Russian language. Because yeah, we have actually not many offerings for the basically a lot of the eastern side of Europe, the whole like Russian speaking world. So I thought at least this 40-day challenge program is a good start. So anyway, that's what we do.
Yeah, great. So welcome. I wanted to say, sorry I didn't welcome you earlier, but yeah, it's really nice to have you here. And yeah, I was so excited when I heard that High Noon is opening a chapter in Europe because, like you said, everything seemed so far away. And so it
Mhm.
was nice to hear it's coming closer. And
Yeah.
yeah, and so
Yeah.
the text, the challenge, can you speak Russian? Do you do it
I can't
yourself?
speak Russian, but thing is that the 40 challenge, it's 40 videos, and
Okay.
they're all in English. But through the magic of AI and really impressive software that exists right now, it's possible to actually just upload videos and this AI transcribes it, translates it, and then it dubs the video by itself, kind of trying to use the voice of the original speaker. So
Wow.
I don't actually need to do anything except for checking if it's like the translation is correct. But otherwise, it's really impressive. And now I have videos of Benji, Andrew in Russian. They just speak in
Yeah.
Russian now.
Yeah, I've heard that technology is so good. Like even the lips are somehow
Mm.
changed sometimes to
Yeah,
look
yeah,
like they're fluently speaking
yeah,
like
yeah. It's
Russian or whatever language.
yeah. I think Russian is probably a very different language from English, so
Yeah.
it doesn't always work so well, but it is trying to do that. I
Okay.
saw some videos in that software that where they're translating into Spanish, and that works like almost ideally, where the
Wow.
languages are pretty close, and then it looks like just Andrew is speaking Spanish.
That's really cool and a little bit hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Andranik, where are you from? I could guess, but I feel like
Hmm.
could go really
Yeah.
wrong.
Well, I guess I'm from all over the place now. I
Yeah.
I'm I'm from Lithuania. This
Okay.
is yeah, this has been my home for all of my life. Currently in the process of moving to Hungary
Mm-hmm.
to live together with my wife. So yeah, that's kind of actually I'm in transition into a new chapter in life at the moment.
Mm.
Yeah, but also I was born in another different place in
Oh,
Armenia.
okay.
That's my kind of origin, and my father's from there, so my name and last name they're very different. My name is not a Lithuanian name, and I'm basically no one can ever pronounce my name no matter where I go.
I see. An
But it's
anomaly.
okay. I like it.
Yeah, your name. I mean, I also thought it's a pretty cool name. Makes me think of the Sputnik on Mars or something.
Oh, really?
Andranik, some
Oh
sort of
yeah.
space mission.
Oh wow. Okay, I've never heard like that before. That's cool.
Okay. Yeah, that's what my first thought was. But it sounds really cool. And what does it mean? That's a
Yeah.
Lithuanian name, right?
No, no, it's an Armenian name.
That's the Armenian side. Okay, I thought
And
the other way
then
around.
yeah, it's the literal name, the meaning of literally of the name is firstborn son.
Uh-huh.
And guess who I am in the family?
I'm hoping you're the firstborn.
No, I'm actually third. No, I'm joking. Yeah, I'm the firstborn son. So this name is, I don't know, quite special in Armenia. And my father, he had this desire to name his first son this name when he was very young. He was 15, maybe. He said that he read a very impressive story about a heroic person with this name, and he really wanted to name his first son by this name. So
Wow.
that's the short backstory.
So, heroic person is your destiny.
Yeah, well, yeah. Often in Europe and like all around, people actually call me Andy as well, like a short version. Which is yeah. Also, even my wife calls me Andy most of the time. It's I was told once by an Armenian second gen that if I ever am called in Armenia by like this short Andy, that
Hmm.
I would be in trouble because this is like a very it's not nice to do this with this name because this name is like really special in the country, and
Oh, wow.
apparently Andy in Armenia is a woman's name.
Oh, no.
And
Okay.
so it's yeah, there's a but anyway, in Europe I go around as Andy. Many people know me as Andy as well. One of the Andys
Okay.
of High Noon. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I really like Andranik, so I'll keep the full,
Yeah, I
yeah,
appreciate that. I appreciate
amazing, yeah, name
that.
together. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you've been, first of all, I saw that you had a wedding recently, right? I mean, I don't remember when I saw
Yeah.
it, but pretty recently, I think,
Mm, yeah,
right?
like for the third time already.
Oh, really? Okay.
We've with my wife, we've now married 3 times already. It's a
Can't
funny
get enough.
story. Yeah, we cannot get enough of each other. Basically, we're blessed for 3 years, and we've been getting married almost every year. I'm very now much inspired about just figuring out a reason to get people together, like to get family
Mm,
and friends together. It doesn't necessarily need to even be celebrating marriage, but celebrating. I
a
don't
new
know.
family
Two and a
member.
half years passed from our, you know, wedding anniversary. Let's do a party because there's not really enough of like things like that to celebrate that bring so much joy, like a new couple coming together
Mm,
or a family expanding. Or I was actually, yeah, told this one close family friends, when they heard about our wedding, were very happy because they said, actually, nowadays there's nothing really joyous to celebrate. There's only funerals and
okay.
catastrophic events around the world, but it's really it's not that common right now, and especially within our movement, I guess there's not that much of a culture to do like a wedding because the blessing has so much meaning, so much depth to it, right? So yeah.
Yeah, that sounds cool to have as many parties as you can. And yeah, to just celebrate all those things and include the people in your life that you think, yeah, would also have joy from those things. Yeah, so yeah, you've been working with youth as well for
Hmm.
quite a few years now. You said organizing workshops already since 2021 and now with High Noon.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I'm sure you've become more familiar with the challenges that youth are faced with these
Hmm.
days. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of look into that with you because I think a lot of parents aren't really aware of the challenges that they're faced with, children
Hmm.
today, just because it is, I mean, yeah, technology has changed and also culture has changed. And and yeah, so, and I also think there are many different kinds of challenges, from maybe mild to more severe. And so, yeah, I was just wondering if you could give us some insight into what kind of things are youth today struggling with.
Yeah, yeah, I guess this is something that I have somehow found myself in, like this area of working with young people, um, teenagers mostly. And yeah, it's been growing kind of. Our reach has been growing over the past years. Uh, we've been doing these workshops in Poland, which are like international. And then now with Hainun, I'm actually like traveling to the countries. And we were in talking with my wife before coming on here, just reflecting, okay, what are some of the challenges actually, like if we had to kind of analyze, and we were thinking about this. Well, there's one level of this where the challenges that the youth themselves kind of express that they're faced with, but then there's also the other level of our observation, kind of what we see and what we interpret as the challenges that they're going through, and these might differ. But yeah, we do get basically the opportunity to talk to a lot of the youth in our movement in general in Europe, and there have been some things that kind of stay throughout. So the first I'll probably mention one that's more our observation, not
Okay.
necessarily that young people identify it as a challenge, but yeah, when we talk with them and we think about their situation and we're trying to help them, we realize that basically a lack of community
Mm.
where they can truly belong is probably one of the most overarching challenges. What I mean by that is, of course, there's communities, and of course, there's like church communities all over the place. But for a lot of youth, what we see is that there's a challenge to connect to that community in a like, meaningful way. And that's for various reasons, because various communities are very wildly different, let's say. in terms of their structure and their priorities. Like, we've actually seen that some communities just don't put that much priority on youth, for example, but then other communities don't have any resources or ability to put priority on youth or youth activities or but basically, yeah, when we see kind of young people struggling to find their identity, to find their clear kind of direction and purpose in life, and a lot of them are just, in this teenage years are wandering around, which is in some part a very natural thing to wander around and to try to figure things out. Yeah, this like there's often nowadays confusion, which stems from like basically not really belonging to or not being able to identify with this community.
Hmm.
I mean, I personally, just like my own experiences, growing up, for example, in a community where I was the oldest, and the second oldest was my brother, and the third oldest was my brother, and there wasn't really any workshops, summer camps, or anything. So there weren't people my age with whom I could really share and connect over the same experiences and feel like we're all going through something together. And that was a big challenge. And I've noticed now that in other communities where there are, let's say, people of the same age, so people can connect with someone, the community aspect doesn't happen by itself.
Hmm.
So people tend to not really share about what's really going on inside of them. Young people tend to kind of isolate or hide the biggest pain points or confusions that they have. And so that's what I mean by the community element not really working or not doing its job, let's say, because the community ideally should be that place which creates a safe space for people to feel like they can be organically themselves there and figure themselves out and talk with other people. But a lot of youth are missing that in a huge way. And it's when we come and make a workshop and we create that environment for 2 days that people just burst out actually sharing with all kinds of challenges or struggles that they're going through, which 95% of other youth are also going through. So like it's okay. And it's not as big of a challenge actually usually as they think it is. And I can go, yeah, into these smaller ones, that a lot of people are now kind of lost in social media, and that there's like this, yeah, the internet in general is a very it's a place that kind of captures people's attention who don't really know where to put their attention, right? Who are kind of wandering around. The internet is just like collecting these people,
Yeah.
like a fisherman, and
Hmm.
yeah, there's I've heard of various also yeah, challenges of kind of reconciling faith with the current culture. Yeah, there's we live in Europe, right? So we're quite a base of lots of progressive ideas and culture now that is emphasizing like personal liberty a lot, and that goes into the dynamics of like really, again, personal liberty in sexuality, personal liberty and in like self identity, and all of these things are happening already in like the school environment, and and then youth are kind of interacting with that, and they have some other teachings as well from their home or from the church, which tell them that this is not really okay, but they, yeah, they don't want to offend anyone. They want to be friends as well. They want to understand. They want to be compassionate. Anyway, so these kind of challenges, of course, exist, but all of it, I think, really comes back to this the kind of overarching challenge that there's not really a place, or a lot of youth don't feel like they don't feel safe to grow like organically and be themselves. That's why High Noon, in essence, exists, I think, because we're creating that space. We're trying to make up for that, not only with the workshops, but in a big sense, like with the online programs. That's the main thing we do, the online programs. to create group spaces for people to connect for like months at a time with other people, talk about their challenges. Um, yeah, I mean that's a start probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to just, because you said, okay, these often the community is missing and a place of belonging. And I'm just wondering if you made any observations that the youth that are missing that, do you think they have connection with their family, like the
Hmm.
main root where actually, like the first unit? Do you think they are connecting there, or is that also
Hmm.
like, yeah, a struggle?
Yeah, I mean, actually, that's a great point. That's a starting point as well, and we almost have the statistics for that. That is like for sure, a lot of youth are struggling and devoid of that kind of connection in their homes to begin with. Teenagehood in general, I guess, is a very turbulent time. There's lots of changes happening, and you're kind of trying to figure out life, figure out, yeah, what's happening with you. There's lots of emotions, lots of like, feelings inside, lots of just really beautiful and important, but challenging changes happening and adaptations to like the social environment as well. You're kind of becoming an adult. Stuff like, yeah, let's say social media, internet, isolation, even pornography and like all of that, like sexual kind of misbehavior or not just misbehavior, but confusion. It doesn't get talked about within the family most of the time. That's why we need to go around and tell people that they should be honest, and practice the five virtues. But yeah, it's basically anywhere we go, it's kind of the same. Young people, they struggle to like feel like they can share with their parents absolutely everything, let's say, that is on their hearts, because they're afraid, of course, that they will be kicked out of their home and never loved again. And it's extreme, but for
Yeah.
some reason it's even stupid when you think about it. Like, come on, what parents would kick their child out? But it's actually how you can, even to that level, experience like, if I shared to my parents that I am like struggling with pornography online, like that's my an addiction I have, that my parents will scold me and kick me out or take away everything, not like ground me for eternity or whatever. There's a lot of shame in this, and most of the time, yeah, uh, I know actually that parents are very understanding and able to take that kind of news from their kids and embrace and try to help. Although we have heard of cases where that doesn't happen, and actually where it does go wrong. I've even back when I wasn't organizing workshops, I was more like a team leader. I remember giving someone advice that like, yeah, you should share with your parents about what you're struggling with, and then it went really bad
Mm.
actually. So this fear is not ungrounded in any like, or it's not just like imagination, but it's probably overplayed, or it's having too much of a grip on people than it actually should.
Yeah, I see. And I'm just wondering, yeah, if we really created this feeling of belonging at home, this safe space to have these conversations, like I wonder if it would be easier to connect in a community or even build a community. Yeah, like you said, in your community, the community didn't exist because you were the oldest. And
Well, the community existed
okay,
for the elders, like for the
yes,
first generation, right? For me, it was kind of, I was a uh, test child,
oddball, the
Yeah, but
pancake, first one in the pan.
I can, from here I can just share from my perspective and my experience, right? That I had this moment of at some point deciding to approach my parents and tell them that, like, look, these are the things I've done that I'm not proud of and I'm struggling with, and that was a very I had all these fears actually coming into that I don't know how, but I have to get it off my chest because otherwise I'm suffering inside. I'm isolating myself just and it's pure pain. So I at least even if it doesn't go well, I need to let my parents know. I want my parents to know what I'm dealing with. And my parents embrace me a lot and they loved me in that moment. Yeah, just completely they embraced me and they wanted to support me and I think that's really the source of why I always wanted to invest into the community because somehow I was on that foundation in my family where like I knew that it's okay to struggle. I knew that it's okay to not have it all figured out and mistakes are not they don't discard me as a person anymore that I'm finished. My life is finished. Like and yeah, I was always like from basically from that moment onwards, I was very passionate about making a community for youth. So I didn't have it, but I made it for like I made the first harp community in the country, and then and I kept expanding on that and growing like in that, and then doing international workshops. And it I think it definitely does like the connection within the family and building that trust and the foundation of love within the family. I think it does kind of have this spillover effect of the young person desiring to continue that. I see that all the time actually, like from the people that I work with, or I don't know, doing these workshops with. Like all of them have a very similar backstory actually, that they had that kind of foundation at home where they were trusted, they trusted, they were loved. They loved their family, and they were not, yeah, punished for mistakes, but instead embraced. And yeah, anyway, that's kind of like the experiences I have, and I see that kind of all the time. And making the workshops that we do now, we have 50 young people coming in for the summer and then for the winter, and we hear all kinds of stories and we know all kinds of families and backgrounds, and we know that in some families that's just really not the case, like they cannot achieve that level of at least connection at some fundamental level. So we try to provide that through the workshop and then continuing like talking with that person, but actually in a lot of families, I think that's very possible. But there's something, it's funny when we do the high noon workshops, and sometimes we do a parents program as well, like if parents desire that. And, we ask the youth, what do they want in terms of their relationship with their parents? And they want more connection. They want to
Mm.
speak more honestly. And we ask the parents, what do you want? And they want a closer relationship with their children. They want to speak more. They want to be more honest, but yet it doesn't happen. Like everyone wants the same thing, but it doesn't happen. So I guess there's a lot of fear. None of us were born, I guess, as family specialists. And
That's true.
yeah, but yeah, that's what we
Yeah.
see basically.
Yeah, I just love what you noticed that you said like this embracing from the parents gave people the courage to go out and invest even more and give other people, yeah, more community and yeah, maybe even experience what they got to experience in their own family.
Mhm.
Yeah. And yeah, it's so interesting. Like everyone wants the same thing, but I think it's also maybe just a matter of miscommunication or everyone's on different terms, maybe.
I think we're all basically, probably we're all afraid in some way. Um, it's difficult to say. Obviously, the first generation are coming from all kinds of different families, but then they're trying to make a new, different family, different culture, and that's a lot of pressure, and no one really has the clear answers, how to do that best. Everyone's trying to figure it out within their own home, and I know for myself that this generational kind of growth is. I really appreciate my parents. They did a lot, I think, to change from what they had, but still, they couldn't change everything, and still we had some barriers of connection. Yeah, I mean, if my father had a relationship with his father where they would never hug, they would just be these men.
Mm.
And obviously, yeah, my father really tried to improve on that, but still there's like some barriers that are left over, and then I need to continue overcoming that. And that's happening in every family, like in
Yeah.
various different ways. And yeah, it's hard to say why, but we just have some kind of fears, we have some kind of things kind of left over, maybe from our own family experiences, and then it's very difficult to trust the process that through like the practice of love and really loving people, even when it hurts, even when it's like not comfortable, and trusting, and yeah, showing up for like members in the family, let's say, that's gonna necessarily do anything, or change anything or help. uh, I know many cases where, and I know myself, like I had many times doubts that, anyway, why should I try in my family to trust my parents, or yeah, they'll never change. But yeah, we gotta move forward somehow. And it's very true, actually. I mean, the communities, they're something that gets created on the basis of the families, the units of that community, right? And then the family is based on the individuals. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So connection and this feeling of belonging, it's a quite a big challenge that I guess people are going through, but also maybe subtle because it's not like, yeah, people are, it's like staring at you in the face every day, like, oh, this pain of not being able to connect or belong. But it is actually quite a big challenge that I guess not even just youth, but people generally go through. But yeah, are there some other challenges that you've also become aware of that youth are
Mm.
faced with?
Hmm. Yeah, well, I would, I would say, I don't want to be too like cliche and basic, but yeah, of course, yeah. Our current kind of state with the internet and social media, it's an interesting place where simultaneously, like, there's more and more intense social media networks coming out, which are trying to grab your attention even more. It seems like every year there's updates coming out to Instagram and TikTok and whatever that are making them even more um, like attention grabbing. And yet there's simultaneously this awareness that's popping up all over the place. Like, people are becoming more and more aware of that this is probably not so good, that we should change, we should do less of this. But yeah, it's yeah, we can see that with the rise of social media and like this accessibility to escaping
Mm.
being so easy now, yeah, a lot of people are kind of young people are trapped in that. They don't want to use social media so much, but also they don't often they don't really figure out a better way to use their time, or maybe they lack that kind of necessary skills to, yeah, overcome that very like basic desire to connect with something, with someone. Yeah, so social media is probably like the first level, but with that, it often transitions all the way into pornography, like, and all these kind of really addictive stuff on the internet. And that's, yeah, our main kind of avenue in High Noon, like what we're really trying to help people with. But now I'm doing groups, facilitating, mentoring as well, and I can see just how deep of a grip social media, the internet, has on young people. It's quite tragic and sad often, because really, like, some older people might, I've heard this a lot often, like, have the perspective that, oh, youth are just, addicted to these technologies, and they have nothing better to do, and they don't understand and whatever. But a lot of youth don't want to. Like most of them don't want to use social media so much, really. Most um, guys that I've worked with really don't want anything to do with pornography, for example. They really don't. But it ends up being a sort of drug in a sense, like a medication for the feeling of isolation that they have. And that's what we just talked about, family, community, right? So yeah, that's a huge challenge. Plus, like being on your phone nowadays and like on social media, it's very socially acceptable. It's like, right, everyone is on there. So as a teenager, it's quite a lot of pressure to not be present there, to because you feel like you're missing out, and you feel like if you're not there, then everyone, like, life is happening, people are sharing stories, and people are connecting there, and it's difficult to kind of go against that flow. There's lots of that kind of peer pressure, I guess, but yeah, that's for sure huge, like in every young person's life. Because when you're a teenager, you want to belong, you want to figure out how to be like socially acceptable and be in friends groups and whatever. But yeah, but that sometimes like collides with this, with what looks like I need to do unhealthy stuff to be there, to be connected with other like peers of mine. So that's a big challenge, and everyone, I guess, needs to figure that out in some way for themselves. That, like, the solutions to that really are within the family, within community, within like connection with actual people outside of social media, outside of that, and also with like all the way to the really most painful levels of internet pornography. Like, also that addiction to that is in essence a cry for connection in a person. The
Yeah.
solutions to that exist also within the family, within the community, within genuine connections with friends. But yeah, all the fears and kind of lack of belief that that it could be that there could be that like solution, the way out could be there. Yeah, a lot of youth are just stuck in that. And it's very interesting to observe in workshops. We try to measure our performance by the amount of like by how much we see people not being on their phones.
Hmm.
So if we create a good enough program, people will generally naturally want to participate and be present there instead of being on their phones. And I found that a good way actually to measure. And that says a lot, I think. That really it's not that people want the phones, that they value so much the phones and the social media. No, but it's generally that they have nothing better, or they feel like they have nothing better.
Yeah. Yeah, it should definitely be just a tool, right? And not overpowering you
Hmm.
or filling in all these empty spaces.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, so youth are craving connection, and that's also what they need. They're just trying to get it sometimes in the wrong way, or I don't know if,
In
yeah,
the only
social
way that
media,
they
the
find,
only
like
way
the
they,
easiest path usually.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely very much craving connection, love. Many times, and this is even not like gender specific, because people sometimes think also girls like sharing more and boys like playing and, I don't know, wrestling more or whatever. But actually, no, even with like teenage boys, we found that giving them just attention, just listening, they'll start sharing so much about themselves, about what they're struggling with. Boys and girls, everyone is desiring that safety, and like confiding in someone elder, just in someone who can kind of embrace, support. Yeah, and then like the community level as well, like more horizontal, let's say, like friendships, and friendships that are deep, not shallow.
yeah. And I mean, it's a good human instinct to have, I think, and I think a lot of us haven't learned it well, even into adulthood. And then we're either very dependent on our spouse for companionship, or yeah, or we're just a bit isolated generally. Just don't know how to make friends, especially if you move around to new places. That can really, yeah, just isolate you. So, I mean, I think it's really great that youth want to have this connection, and if they can learn that already, then or of course early in the family ideally, and just build up on that into teenagerhood, then yeah, then
Mhm.
you can really set yourself up for an adulthood where you yeah, can expand into the community and have a healthy community to lean into.
Yeah,
um,
and that all of that, I just realized, I don't know how I didn't mention this, but that's so also integrated with faith. Like people's experience of having a relationship with God, a connection with like their own spirituality, and all of that is so interconnected. Um, I've really, I haven't really found people that are really doing well in their spiritual, like faith, life of faith and connection to God, and struggling in their family and community. Like the connection with God is often a product of having that security within the family and community. Most of the time, people question God, God's existence, God's like heavenly parent as a whole concept, right? Question that and don't tend to trust that when they're struggling in the family, when they're struggling like to find that love that people talk about in their actual environment. So when that's going on, it's very difficult to have faith. It's very difficult to believe that there's a heavenly parent that made you into this world when this world for you is just so much pain and isolation and suffering. There's few, like I've seen, few young people who can kind of transcend that and they have something greater in them. Like so, there's something driving them and they put God above everything and they really have very strong faith. But it's very, very rare, very
mm,
seldom that is the case. And that's also why I really think that it's so important for us to kind of help our families grow and create more spaces of love, because we can talk about God's love all we want, but if that doesn't connect to something actually real that we experience, then it's well, it's fairy tales essentially. So
mhm.
yeah, that's actually a big one. We do the workshops, in the international ones, which are kind of more, yeah, they have a big element of like faith development and character growth. And we've discovered a lot of young people have a very abstract relationship with Heavenly Parent, with God. It's just really like a puzzle with three pieces out of 100 still, right?
Hmm.
And that's nothing to say that like somehow the youth are bad, or that it's their fault that it's like that. It's completely not. It's fine. The puzzle should start from zero. But yeah, what's puzzling about it all is that I guess how we are trying. Yeah, we're a movement of, right, following true parents. We kind of champion that understanding of Heavenly Parent, I think, as a religious movement in general. But yet our youth, I don't think, are that much different from any other church community's youth, struggling with experiencing God just as much, sometimes I think even more. Yeah, it's a yeah. That's something I wanted to mention actually, because this connection with Heavenly Parent is just so, it's so important, so precious. Based on that, you're building your own family, you're pursuing the blessing, like based on this faith in all of it. Yeah, you want to make the world a better place. So it really does start from within the most fundamental relationships of parent to child and siblings.
So how would yeah, you describe your relationship with Heavenly Parent? um, Yeah, because I think we just want to, like those kids, they want to see that it exists, right? Like they experience that this love exists in the family of being absolutely loved. And if they don't experience that, then they also question probably, does God really love me completely? Or how do you see that connection of Heavenly Parent, yeah, being in each one of our lives and also manifesting in our community and in our families themselves?
Yeah, well, I just personally think that God's love doesn't really exist outside of human relationships. Like, I mean, yeah, we can say we go out to nature and the nature is so beautiful and I feel loved by God. And okay, but you cannot go very far with that, I don't think. When I feel loved by my father and mother, I feel loved by God way more than I feel when I go out to nature. That's, to be very honest, that's really how it is. And God created us like that. I believe God created us like that. That the experience of God is within relationships, of God's love is within relationships. And I personally always kind of lived up to that. I think when I struggled in my life of faith the most was also when I struggled in my family the most, or like feeling connected to my family. And yeah, I believe that God created us as His hands and feet, as His eyes and ears. Like God experiences the world through us. So that's like very crucial. In essence, I think that's very crucial for that kind of organic relationship with God to appear through relationships that we actually have in our lives. I've even I found it very interesting because, yeah, like I said, I was like the oldest in my community, so often my friends were just from school, from university, yeah, and I found it very interesting that even people sometimes who, say they're atheistic,
Mm.
but come from that kind of environment where they were loved and they were secure, they find it very easy to connect to the ideas of like a universal energy that created
Mm.
everything, that is growing in love, for example. uh,
Yeah.
and they find it way more easy to connect those ideas actually than people who didn't have that at home, but were always taught that that's the case, that there is a loving heavenly parent, and or there's like an energy behind the universe that created everything and that is expressing itself in human beings. And yeah, they find it more easy to connect than like these people who were taught all of this but didn't experience it. So I guess that's what I'd say on this, right? But
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I do feel people sometimes say they don't believe in God, but it's just a certain concept of God that they have understood from other people
mm,
and have never, yeah, I mean, everyone has their own relationship with God anyway. And I think our understanding is so limited sometimes
mm,
of what God, Heavenly Parent, is and does. But yeah, also what you said about like you said you experience God's love more when you feel loved by your parents.
yeah.
And so if kids don't always feel that, I mean, of course, always is hard to achieve. But if they don't feel it often, then it must be such a block to really get to.
mm,
And yeah, so what can they do?
right.
Like, I mean, sometimes you want to feel loved by your parents, but you don't know how to ask.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's like, um, I guess we were never meant as a child, like maybe initiate these kinds of conversations with our parents. It's very tricky and confusing, and I've talked with people, that are in that situation, and they just even feel resentful that that's the case. That why do I need to tell my parents to love me? or like something like that.
Yeah.
It's a very tough situation to be in. And it's actually, I tend to say to people that it's okay if you don't want to do that, or if you feel like you cannot step over that hurdle. You don't need to feel the pressure that you have to. It's really not your mission to be the parent in your relationship with your parents. But if you, if you have that kind of patience in you, and I try to be very, and I'm trying now to be very kind of not politically correct, but just I want to be as clear as I can with this, that it's something that we can do, initiate the relationship with our parents, overcoming that kind of hurdle and obstacle of it feeling like, why should I? And it actually can bring a lot of great result. Like, that's something that I've had to try in my family, and I know my siblings, even I think to a greater degree, like they tried, where they initiated certain conversations wanting to connect with the parents. And that's something that really, it's not as, yeah, it shouldn't be something that we should really be afraid of as much as it is right now. It's something that we can do and try. And I know cases of families where, like I've mentioned already, it doesn't work out so well. So I try to give this advice very lightly, or just everyone should take it in consideration of their own situation. But basically, the history of humanity and like the whole providence that we talk about, it's like each one of us is playing a part in it. And we're trying to restore the human heart. We're trying to restore love, basically. Our human condition to be, in some way, this original one that we lost in some way or another. Anyway, but we all have a part to play in that. And if we so choose to take more challenge on, even though it's not really fair, or maybe not, wasn't supposed to be our responsibility, that's actually it. Yeah, it can be great. It can liberate a lot, or liberate a lot of like the, yeah, struggle within the family, when a child, like when a teenager, approaches their parents, stumbling even that, like, to that. I remember there's a time when I asked my parents, why don't we say that we love each other in our family so much? Like, we don't say the words. I felt very, like, it was very painful. And it came out with a lot of tears finally, like being able to say that. And having that kind of conversation, yeah, it was even, I think, like, for my parents, a bit uncomfortable also, like, because they actually they feel that, like, yeah, they definitely probably want more of that, but they don't know how to. They didn't have the experience in their own homes and their families. And but we stumble through that somehow. I don't know the right words, but I say it, that this is what I want. And they try to listen, and then we try to adjust somehow. We try to grow through that. Yeah, that's kind of some limited, very limited, experiences and advice that I have on that. But otherwise, if a young person listening to this doesn't want to, or doesn't feel like they can do that, well, then at least connecting to, yeah, other people around, that can either represent that parental figure, or just be an elder sibling to them. Because heartaches, they need to be healed. We cannot continue living with them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're actually speaking to the parents right now, right? Our listeners are mainly parents. So I think what we've really hit on right now is that it's just so important to give that space, to give your children to talk to you about, yeah, their needs, to feel loved.
Mhm.
And yeah, to just listen, not take it as an attack or anything, or
Mhm.
just as an opportunity to grow
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
parent.
Actually, that's a great point, right? That uh, is I just remember myself in that. Like I would bring up things to my parents that maybe in how I expressed it would feel like I'm judging them. I never intended that, but I'm also expressing I have a need. And yeah, and for parents, like really, we work with, your children basically, and we know that they really want to have a great relationship with their parents. We know that for sure. They want to have a very loving and connected relationship, but they don't know where to start from. They don't know what to do. They often desire that the parents start first, really. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can really relate to that myself. So, yeah, how can we start first as parents? I mean, I know your journey is yet to start, but I think you have a lot of practice now with youth. And yeah, so you said also on these workshops, you do try to make it so amazing that people are not so drawn to their phones. Like that's how you measure it. And so what is this enticing point that you give to the participants? And yeah, what has, so that's one question. And another question, if might be connected to that, is yeah, how have you experienced is an effective way to help these youth who are really craving connection or maybe missing something in their own families?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, in the workshops, yeah, we difficult to condense 7 days
Yeah.
into short. But yeah, I guess we just try to have like a in the workshop we try to have a balance of like the lectures and a lot of fun, a lot of games, a lot of very challenging as well activities. Like I think most parents, if they saw the challenge days that we do, they would um, feel very sick in their stomachs because
Why
uh,
is that?
because we believe that we don't need to overprotect people too much. We need to give them the experience of really going through difficulties and having adventure. So our challenge days in the summers, people basically ruin a whole set of clothes because of the mud that they go through and the things that they do throughout the day where they literally crawl on the ground and wrestle with each other or try to achieve some kind of objective that is just incredibly challenging. Or anyway, it's I'm not gonna get into so much of that, but we've discovered that actually, yeah, a lot of youth really they crave that kind of engagement with nature, with life, with like a team to achieve something great, to build a shelter in 10 minutes that can withstand a bucket of water being spilled on it, and they're all under that shelter and their mission is to not get wet. Like,
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff, yeah, they're really craving that engagement, that their full body is into something, they're like really doing something. Our workshops are usually actually we have very few lectures. We don't try to focus too much on that. We try to make it very experiential and very practical, that they learn something and they like apply it immediately. Yeah, we've experienced, different young people coming from different backgrounds where maybe, yeah, they've had too much emphasis on just education and like that. Maybe in some communities there's, and I don't judge that. I understand that everyone's trying to figure it out, but yeah, for youth, really, like just telling them how things are and giving a bunch of lectures is often probably the most boring way. But actually giving the experience of going somewhere, traveling somewhere, climbing some hill or mountain, or yeah, that speaks a lot more. Plus, we combine it with very like deep experiences and moments as well. We've recently replaced our usual prayer evening with an activity we call prayer hands. So we found a kind of way to engage people in prayer, young people in prayer, that's also not about them, but it's about other people. So everyone takes a paper, they draw their hand in it, and inside their hand they write what do they want other people to pray for them.
Mm.
And then we take these papers and we put them all over the floor in this lecture hall. And then for 40 minutes, everyone goes and finds someone else's hand, reads what this person wants others to pray for them, puts their hand on their hand and prays for that person. And then
Wow.
people cry so much in that, they're like,
Mm.
yeah, people suddenly connect to prayer finally in a way that's somehow also for others. So we try to, yeah, we come up with all kinds of things like that to make it very engaging and to touch like very deep inside the heart. Yeah, like the person that's already there, that's really sensitive, a spirit that's very sensitive, playful, creative, just to bring it out. And we
Mm-hmm.
don't tell people, don't be on your phone. We we just don't say anything. Uh,
Yeah.
we yeah, we don't judge. We don't like put people down like, oh, using your phone is really bad and whatever. But uh, we see a person that's lonely, we come up to them and we talk to them. Like, hey, how are you doing? How's your experience on the workshop? Want to play a game?
Mm-hmm.
It's very simple like that. And I think the second like question, right? What can be really done? I think it doesn't need to be overcomplicated, but I've always felt like really inspired when I see the example in my parents that they talk about. So I don't just get lectures and I don't just get talked to about how things should be, but I see my father who's striving incredibly, for example, in creating his own business and making something of his own. I'm really inspired by that. And that's something that is more valuable to me actually than most of the uh, lessons and advice, let's say, that he has given me, which still I really appreciate that he's shared a lot with me, but to see him actually try in his life to do something, it inspires me and makes me want to do something as well. And to see my mother, who goes to the gym every day, is like she goes to the gym more
Wow.
than I do, right? And
Nice. Impressive.
she gardens, like she has her own garden, which she takes care of every day. And these things are actually they're really moving to me because I see my parents as people who are quite, yeah, in that sense they're trying to create something in their lives. They have hobbies, they have passions, and uh, it's been always very made very clear to me that I can join them whenever I want, right? And that door has always been open. So that's like actually I don't want to lecture parents, but it's like it's very inspiring for kids to see in their parents life, to see in their parents that they're doing the things that they're talking about, right? So yeah, and I think that's why our like the youth in our workshops keep coming back to us, is that uh, we're not specialists, uh, we're not great, we're not like really, we're not the best lecturers, we're not the best at anything really, but we try to make stuff of ourselves. Like what we're going through in life, we're just sharing with people. And I think, yeah, with my wife, we got blessed 3 years ago, and we shared that blessing with everyone else. We share with people how it is in the blessing, and they love that. And they see also us as a couple, right? Serving and doing something together, like directing these workshops. They see us and they see, wow, that's for many young people, that's the first time they see how a blessing looks like in a young couple, and
Mm.
that it can be actually good. And yeah, I guess we just invite people into our lives, and they feel very appreciative of that they have this open space to see how we're dealing with things. We're very honest and upfront that we have challenges, we have struggles, but we show everything as it is. And 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 the youth, they just are hungry for that kind of honesty, and that creates the security for them to share with us then, like what are they going through. And yeah, yeah, so I think maybe there's something in that for parents, if they're wondering. But
For
yeah,
sure.
I personally just loved following example.
Yeah, I think living what you say does, that's really powerful. And like sometimes Like I'm thinking, yeah, I really want my kids to manifest their dreams, to really find their passion. And
Mm.
then if I think, oh, if I'm just doing like a basic 9 to 5 job just to make money, and I tell them, go follow your dreams, there's a discrepancy because I'm not doing it myself,
Yeah.
and always this discrepancy of what we tell our kids and what we're actually living ourselves. I think they see that and they feel it, especially if they
Mm.
encourage you, yeah, go get blessed, have a really healthy marriage. But then the marriage they have is not a romantic or, even a very engaging marriage. Then of course young people are very turned off by this discrepancy in what is said. And yeah, so I
Mm.
think, like you said, just living what you say by example, that is really, really powerful. And I want to
Mm.
join one of your workshops. They sound
Good.
really cool. I love the idea with
Yeah,
the hand
yeah,
prayer.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the next one is in the winter time, during New Year's. So
Okay.
so yeah, that would be great.
And what's the age group that you take?
Well, we aim for 14 to 18-year-olds, but then there's
I see.
always, 13-year-olds that are really asking to be there. So
I see, of
we
course.
yeah, we often open the door as well for 13-year-olds, but yeah, it's like teenagers basically.
Okay. We have my kids have a few years, but um, yeah, I'll definitely keep it in mind. And I just wanted
Yeah.
to, yeah, so like these challenges that come up, I was just thinking, like, so what is there something you can tell parents to do before that all happens and also afterwards? So that's, of course, parents with kids at different time settings. Right? And I think we've kind of built up already an answer through this whole conversation. But yeah, just to sum it up, like, yeah, these challenges, especially when kids get older, going through teenagerhood and puberty, this desire to connect becomes so strong. And social media is a challenge, pornography is a challenge. And then, of course, I think for women also, body image becomes such a challenge and loving ourselves. And maybe for men too, I just can't speak for men. But yeah, all of these things become more prominent in our lives. Yeah, so what can us parents, you are a future or parent and workshop leader, yeah, what can we do before all this whole tidal wave hits? And also if we're in the middle of this tidal wave, which is maybe more of a desperate situation, yeah, how can we reach out to our kids? What, can you say something
Mm.
about that?
Yeah, I've had experiences of feeling at points very isolated, and I remember specifically my mother kind of trying to reach into me in those times.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that I rejected at first. I was trying to kind of protect my inner space, and yeah, not that I had anything against my mom, but it was just somehow I was very insecure or in a lot of pain. It was kind of related to being bullied at school, and my mom tried, right? And I think that that point there was, yeah, to not give up when, like, because if this is something new and parents are trying to approach their kids for the first time, might not be successful from the first time, for the first try, and might not be successful from the second try. But I think not giving up, like, by the time young, like, people are 14, 15 years old, uh, we don't know, but actually they might have experienced a lot of difficult things and maybe even betrayal at school or bullying or some kind of, yeah, like really difficult, tough situations that they didn't know how to deal with. But what got ingrained in their mind is that I cannot trust people. Yeah, and it's people are often kind of young people are they're looking for that, like someone to seek them, to pursue them, to try to be with
Mm.
them, even if they're rejecting a little bit at the beginning. So I think there's just kind of not giving up. Yeah, maybe I don't know much about like before that big challenges happen in a young person's life, like how, what to do then. I think it's just all, probably making a good relationship. I saw
Mm,
the previous episode where I think it was very well put there that, yeah, it shouldn't be like that you just one day try to have deep conversations with your child. Yeah, but there should be a base for that. Like there should be, right, a relationship before
mhm.
that. But when I know maybe more about when things are already difficult and there's challenges and there's like some walls to get over, to break through. From the parent side, I always appreciated just when my parents didn't give up. They didn't give up on me. And I see this with the youth that we work with as well, that we try to not give up on them. We try to really dig into their hearts, like, because we care about them. And yeah, I mean, eventually they melt, and they allow us to come in, and then yeah, we can embrace and we can help each other. Yeah, they feel that a lot when there's a genuine desire to support, to just be close, and it's like it's a desire that doesn't fade if I reject the first time. Yeah, but generally speaking, I think we teach this concept that purity is like a garden. So purity is not an egg. Purity is a garden. A lot of people, and like from the beginnings of our movement, there was a understanding that purity is something that can be lost and like lost forever. But that's very unhealthy and very
Yeah,
that kind of puts a lot of pressure on the young person as well. That if they make a mistake, that they're broken. Purity as a garden, it's something we grow, something that if we don't take care of, it will maybe there will be some weeds and the flowers will die away, but it's something that we can cultivate again and like make the garden beautiful again. So having that perspective, I think, is very helpful
for sure.
towards a child, for example, who is growing up with all these pressures that they're supposed to keep their purity, but now their friends at school showed them some pornography, and now what is up, are they fallen or something, like really, sometimes the young people, they have that kind of, when they're 12 years old, they have that kind of thinking. And yeah, the worst thing that can happen at that point is, when a child feels like that, has that kind of thinking, and they don't have a solid base of trust in the family and with the parents, that they can share about that, and they will not be kicked out, or
Yeah,
they'll just isolate, they'll just keep that inside, and then it will develop into bigger and bigger shadows. So yeah, just kind of we teach that to youth, and I think parents, it would be very helpful if they heard this concept as well. Purity as a garden, when they're looking at their children who are like second generation, third generation, like pure water. True Mother talks about pure water generation. Yeah, pure water, like a very pure garden. But yeah, we can have a certain level of grace and make it very clear to the young people that like it's okay, that they might make some mistakes or something happens that they're not proud of, and it's okay, and it can all be fixed. Everything can be okay. That sense of security and safety is something that really parents are in the best position actually to provide,
yeah,
because like I can never give it as much to some like younger teenager as their parents could, because I'm just some guy, a brother, at best. But the parents, they're actually in the best position to do that, because the kids also are seeking for that the most from their parents. Yeah, so it's actually even good, I think, to believe that, to have that faith. If some parents are not confident, that they don't know, they're not confident in approaching their kids like that, it's good to have the belief that actually the kids really want their parents to love them like that, because they, for sure, most of the time they do. Like that's our experience. They do. They want the parents to come, to love, to have great experiences, to have a great relationship, to talk about things.
yeah. You, I think you said it all. To just never give up on our kids. even during those tidal
Mm.
waves of challenges. And yeah, before the challenges hit, to just work on building up the relationship. Like your workshops have lots of intense fun. I think that's really important. Yeah, like in our family, we try to have date nights, but also game nights and movie nights. Of course, those are not as family bonding, but I'm just like on the prowl for family traditions that are just unique
Mm.
to our family and that yeah, that our kids I think our kids would like. So, yeah, to build up the relationship and yeah, and that creates like you said this home base to even have conversations. Yeah, and I like also, yeah, purity is a garden. I mean, we can sometimes make mistakes with our analogies. I've never heard the egg one, by the way.
We don't need to freak out or like go into panic mode if we see. I've had these, thankfully very few, but I've heard, from some people that they shared with their parents about some mistakes they made, and then the parents really overreacted that like this is the end. It's very few cases, but that has happened. And then, where is that young person supposed to go from there? What are they supposed to do? Like nothing. There's nothing left, right? So
Hmm.
um, that's yeah. Uh, the eggshell analogy usually, I mean, it's never like said like that, but we can basically understand that that's the understanding that people had when they were
Okay.
teaching about purity as like something that absolutely you need to keep, not lose. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. But there
Hmm.
was nothing ever said about what you should do. Right?
Right.
So yes, it's very helpful to, I think, just keep it in mind, like something that people grow. It's not something to panic about when a young person is going through challenges. It's everything is really generally fine and can be uh, I don't want to say like fixed, but just restored and brought back to a healthy state. Like, yeah, there's no need to overreact, but often maybe just having compassion that, oh, like, a person is going through this episode in their life right now where maybe they even feel like really there's some traumatic experience going on, like a 12-year-old being shown pornography at school by a friend just out of the blue. That happens, and to have some compassion that that's a very intense experience, and we can, like, through an embracing approach now, try to take this weed out of the garden and try to, yeah, like, bring it back, water it, take care of it. But anyway, that's a good place to be in, and I've really appreciated that in my own life, that it was, I don't know, I never had the pressure of that there's a mistake that's so bad that there's no going back from it. I've always felt that I can share with my parents even really bad stuff. They might not always be very proud, like, and they don't have to be, but they will always love me. For sure,
Hmm.
they will always love me.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for all that you shared, Andranik, and also for all that you do for taking care of all those youth. I think that's really heroic, just like your name. um, yeah, I mean, to you pioneered a young community, and yeah, so thank you so much for all that work and also for coming on today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, yeah, I'm really excited that, yeah, there's a School of Love, and like all of these activities that we're expanding in as this High Noon family. That there's something for everyone, for parents, for blessed couples, for individuals, for singles. I'm very excited about all this, where it's all going. Yeah, so thank you for letting me speak here.
You're welcome. All right, then we'll see you again another time.
Yeah. Yep.
Bye.
Maybe in some workshop setting as well in the future.
Yes, I would love that. Yeah. I want to do the hand prayer, please. And also, Maybe the bucket challenge.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll try to build the challenges maybe progressively. I really don't know if some parents came to our workshops and saw the challenge days. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what to say, honestly. I guess I'll have to see it for myself.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Take care, Andranik.
Yeah. All right. You too. Bye bye.